Hello friends, in the last lecture we have seen that how to create databases for our programming purpose. So in the last lecture we have completed till here that we have created the database, and inside database test we have created a table named as user that was containing 4 fields, that is ID, name, age and email. Okay. So in this lecture we are going to create our next file for programming, that is called as config.php file. So before starting that, first you have to understand where we have to create our project file. So this is the path where my XAMPP server is installed. This is inside D drive, and it has created a XAMPP named folder. You can also install it in your Windows directory, that is a C or D or E, any drive. Inside this XAMPP folder, you can see a folder named as htdocs. This htdocs folder contains all the project files. Okay, so inside that I'm going to create a new folder for my project, and say I name it as php dbcon. Okay, so this is my project folder named as php dbcon. So for programming purpose, I have installed Visual Studio Code as I have discussed in the last lecture. So I'll simply click it, right click here and click open with code. So this is going to open my complete project folder inside this Visual Studio Code IDE. Okay. So in this PHP dbcon folder which I have created for my programming purpose, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new file and name that file as config.php. That was the first file of my project. Okay, you can see here if there is any problem in visualizing the code, I am going to control its preference and its settings. I can increase the font size here, so I'll simply copy it and increase the font size here. Say I have made it 20. Okay, so for this config.php file, what I am going to do, I am going to set up the database parameters. So as it is a PHP file, so I have written this PHP tags. Inside that PHP tag, I am going to first define who is the database host. So I name it as variable db host, and we can see here who is our db host or database host. Our host is this local host, as we are executing our program or our system on localhost. So localhost is going to be our db host. So db host is nothing but a local host. Okay, next our db name, that is our database name. So we can see here the database name of for our program is, or our project is test. So it is test. Okay, next we have to define the db user, that is who is going to control that. So to take a look, if I want to see who is the db user of my system test, so you can go for privileges and you can find here the users. So for me, the for the host, local host, the username is root. So I'm going to put the username as root, and during the installation I have not created any password for my database, so I leave it database pass as blank. Okay, and if you have created any database password for that, you can write your database password here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to write a further code, that is I'm going to create a variable, say MySQL I equals MySQL I underscore connect. That command is used for creating the connection string. Okay, and this MySQL I stands for MySQL improved version, as many of the MySQL commands are deprecated now, so the newer version is MySQL I, so I stands for improved. So inside that connect, simply write your db host, and next your db user, who is the user of your database, Then if there is any db, then db pass, and in the next step our fourth parameter will be db name. That is your what is the database name. Okay. And to check whether your system is connected or not, simply put a clause here, that is if not clause will check for the for this variable, that is this particular variable is containing anything or not, and when it gets connected it will return something with some value. So for that, if not $mysql I, that is if it is not connected, then simply echo not connected. Okay. Otherwise, or else print or echo connected. Okay, this is just for checking purpose. So this is what our config.php file contains. So whenever I'm going to create any new file and I want to connect to the database, I'll simply include this file inside my new program or new program file. And the advantage of creating this file is I do not need to write this code again and again during my entire project. Okay. Now, to add this file or to add the database into MySQL database, the next file which I'm going to need is simply a registration form. So I'm going to create a new file. Say I call it as add.html. I'm going to create a simple file, HTML file, that is add.html. Okay. That add.html is nothing but a program that contains registration form. So it will be a HTML file. That HTML file contains the default HTMLs, that is head and say title, and its title is say add data. Okay. Now after this head, I'm going to create the body part of this body, and inside this body I'm going to create a form. So I call it as I'm going to put all the data in center, and I write it as registration form. Okay. So to create that registration form, I'll simply write put a command, that is form for the HTML form action. I say for now I write simply insert.php, that is I'm going to create later on, and the data which I will be posting is using method equal to post. Sorry, this is post. Okay, and name of this form is say form1. So this is form. The complete form is created. Now inside this form tag, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a table so that my data looks prettier or my form looks good, and I'm going to set its width as 25% of the window, and its border say is 0. Okay. Now inside this table, first I'm going to create a table row. This table row contains the table data, and I'm going to write the name, the first field, that is name. And in the second column I'm going to create an input tag, that is input type equal to text, and I name it as name equals say name. Okay, and simply close this. So to check whether it is working or not, simply refer to your local host, and in the local host go to your project. So what was our project name? Our project name was phpdbcon. Inside the phpdbcon we have created two files, config.php. This config.php, when it is executing, it is simply saying connected. Okay, and then next file which we are right now creating is h.html. So till now we have created only one field here. Okay, so moving on to the next part. next row. So I'm going to simply copy and paste this line to shorten the time for the name, and next field is, say I've set it age. Input type equal to text, and say next field is age. Then for next field again copy paste this data and name that part as, sorry, the name that part is email. Okay, input type equal to text. For simplification purpose, I am taking all the input types as text. You can change them as per your requirement. And the for the last part, I am going to leave that table data as blank, as I am going to create input type equal to not text. I'm going to create a button. So input type equal to submit, and its name is also submit, and its value that is going to be displayed over the button is add. Okay, so this is how our HTML form is created. So if we take a look, it contains three fields: name, age, email, and add button. And if I click on add button, it is going to the insert.php, which is not created till now, so that's why it is giving error. Okay, so we have created what we have created till now. We have created the config.php file, and we have also created the add.html page. And at the next step, I'm going to create the our next file, which is called as insert.php. Okay, this file which is not find out till now. So I'm going to create this insert.php. So what I'm going to do, I'm simply creating a new file, and I name it as insert.php. Okay, so inside this insert.php file, what I'm going to do, I'm simply writing HTML and a head. Inside the head, I'm putting a title tag so that it says add data, and when the head is closed, I'm going to start the body part here. Inside the body, I'm going to start our PHP tag. Okay, now to create to insert the data into the database, what I need, first I need the database configuration parameters, which I have created in the config.php file. So I'm going to use that config.php file into my insert.php file. For that, uh, write include underscore once, that I'm going to use it once here, and in the course write the file's name, that is config.php. Okay, now at the next step, check whether this data is coming from submit button. So for that, check if is set, and the for method which we have created in our form is post method, and this post method is sending this data using the submit button. So I name it as submit, and if this data is coming from the submit button, then we fetch that data into the local parameters, say name, and this data is coming from post method, so $_post. And what was the name of our name field? The name of this is name. So I'm going to fetch this data using this post method. So simply $_post and write the field value, that is name, field name. Okay, similarly I'm going to fetch the data of age, that is $_post, and insert that age. And the last field which I am going to fetch is email, equals to $_ post, and inside that simply write email. Okay, so these three values are fetched. Now check whether these fields are empty or not. Because if these are empty, the database will contain the empty values which I do not need right now. So check if empty. Which field I have to check? First I have to check name or. So put a or clause here, and next field is check empty $age or empty $email. If any of this field is empty, then check specifically which field is empty. So for that, if empty, $name. So if name is empty, what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply echo a message or print a message in HTML. So I'm going to create an HTML tag inside here, that is font. I want to the font color to be red, font color to be red, and I said name field is empty. Okay, and this font field is closed. Okay, so that's the user gets specific message which field he has left empty. Okay, similar code I am going to copy for the different fields, that is name, age and email. So name, age and email. So I name it as age, and I simply write the message as age field is empty, and for here I'm writing age, and third field is what? Email. So email, and the message contains the email field is empty. Okay, and if this is happening, what I need to do, if this is happening, I'll simply echo further message creating a line break, so that, and put a link to come back using JavaScript. So a href equal to JavaScript self dot whatever the history of the page, history dot back. Okay, so this is the predefined Java function which I'm going to use, that is semicolon, sorry, colon, go href is closed, and I write the text go back, and this field is also closed, double quotes, and this semicolon. Okay, now this is closed. If condition is in if condition I have checked all the conditions. Now come to else part. If all the fields are filled completely, so coming for else part, what we have to do in else part, we have to take the data from the form that we have taken in the from in the fields name, age and email, and put that data into the database. Okay, so to put that data into database, I'll simply execute a command MySQLi underscore query, and this command is running for which the connection, that is MySQLi, which we have created in this config.php. So for MySQLi, so for MySQLi is the first parameter, and write a command insert into users. Our table name was users, containing three fields, name, age and email. Okay, name, age, email, and continue the command values. What values I want to insert here, I've already taken them in the various parameters, that is name, first field, second field is age, and third field is email. Okay, so after taking them, I do one thing, I close this braces here, simply double quotes that, and this, and when I execute this command returns certain data in the form of number of rows affected. So I take that data into the result field. Okay, so if this command executes successfully, what will happen? It will simply print echo. For printing in HTML, in PHP we write echo command. So font color specifically, I take it green as or to display the success, green, and I write data added successfully. Okay, and this, and put one more message to view that data, which I have not created yet, but I am just writing that for future purpose, that a href equals to say index.php. As I have discussed that I am going to write this file for displaying purpose, so index.php, and close that and name it as view result, so that if once anyone click view result, it goes for the data view result page, for the view result page. So once these else command is finished, this part is set, is completely finished. So I am simply ending the PHP tag. Okay, now to check that, I refresh this page and I name it a value. Say I said ABCD, I said it age is 20, and I said its email is abc@ebc.com. So when I click that, it is saying connected, data added successfully. To check that, simply refresh your table and that table, and to fetch the data in the table, it is showing the data as id as 1, that which is auto incremented, name as abcd, age is 20, and email is this. So data added successfully. Now next task is to view that result. So to view that result, I have to create this next file index.php. Okay, so that if anyone click here, it goes to index.php to view that data, which I'm going to create in our next lecture. So I hope this lecture covers the fundamental aspects of your PHP database connectivity. For that, in this lecture, just for the recap purpose, I have created this HTML form, and I took the data from this HTML form and passed this data to insert.php to this file, and I check all the conditions for the empty spaces, and then simply insert that data into the page, into the database. So that's all for now. And if you have any query till now, whatever we have discussed in that, so you may ask in our comment section. Thank you so much. And in our next lecture, will be working on index.php file, that is how to display that data on the page. And later on, we'll also be working on edit and delete pages. So thank you so much.